Felipe Carvalho, the famed legend who basically got his start just commenting relentlessly on a meme page. And then all of a sudden, early last year, I think it was, he just vanished, gone. Nobody saw him anymore. He really has not been anywhere. I've actually been on, NFL memes, and when I say NFL memes, I'm referring to the one that has 4 million followers. People actually ask about him on the comment section, like, "Where's Felipe? Where's Felipe?" This guy used to troll this comment section so relentlessly. He turned into a legend. Like, it's crazy how many people know who Felipe Carvalho is. More people know who Felipe Carvalho is than the quarterback that started for the Broncos last week, or wide receiver, I should say. That's a fact. Weirdly enough, the guy slowly amassed a pretty big following. I remember at one point we talked about it. Like, we were embarrassed that the Sports Memery had so fewer followers than Felipe at one point. I mean, he had like 50,000 followers at like early last year. Well, Felipe is back. He's resurfaced for whatever reason. And he is now posting again on our group, NFL Memes. Super original name. But the return of Felipe Carvalho, is it a good thing for the world or a bad thing for the world? Or is it a perfect ending to 2020? What do you guys think?
I love it.
Felipe is 2020 encapsulated. I mean, he just absolutely is everything that we've experienced over the last 8-9 months of our lives. So why the fuck not?
He's returned. I mean, right? This is Christmas time. Michael Bublé likes to return to the world, and Felipe did it right at the same time. So I think it just goes hand in hand. I'm glad. I popped when I seen him post on your guys' NFL memes page. The big nips are back, man. Big nips are back.
Oh, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that page just had like a JV version of Felipe with Ike Sanford. And then seamlessly, as soon as Ike Sanford left, Felipe came and filled the void.
Was Ike preseason? Was Ike preseason a little bit of a warm-up?
He was like training camp. He was the guy that gets added in 90 just to get beat up in training camp. You cut him, he's gone.
Brandon,
and now the franchise stepped in.
Brandon would have really liked Ike. Ike kind of came and went. He was a Steelers fan. He called everyone clowns. We talked about it a few podcasts ago. Ike was pretty good. But Felipe is on a whole new level of troll. I mean, this guy has commanded respect. Weird respects. People either hate him. Oh my God, some people hate him. So we're the admins of this group, and we have to field. We delete a lot of people just coming on being like, "Can you guys please ban this Felipe guy?" So many people are like, they're like fucking begging us, "Please ban Felipe. Please, for the love of God, can you ban Felipe?" But then other people love just roasting him. And the funniest thing is, the people that roast him and the people that hate him, they don't realize they're all feeding Felipe. He doesn't post. He's like if you just stop paying attention to him, he goes away. But that's the thing, and that's what nobody will get, is that you empower Felipe by giving him attention. We're not giving him attention. We're barely even posting on his shit. It's people in the.
Are you calling him Freddy Krueger right now? Like he will haunt your dreams if you think about him, and if you just don't think about him, he'll disappear. I love that.
That's true.
That's actually a really good comparison. That's a really good comparison. It is true.
Yeah. Everyone's got to join hands in a field and close their eyes and say that Felipe doesn't exist, and that's how the story ends. It's the only way that Felipe goes away. But
he posted like a bathroom, like a bath time selfie or something like that, and put it in the group. It was yesterday. I was like, man, he is back, and he's strong. He's his power is amassing.
He's been on one this week, and he's feeling energized because people are really hating on him. So he's really absorbing the energy of this. He posted one. He said, "I took a bath," and people love just ripping him for this. Some people are genuine. Some people know about the joke, and they're just kind of feeding into it. And then he posted today the most ridiculous post maybe he's ever done. He's holding a handful of hair, and he said, "I just shaved my balls." Just immediately, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be so great. And the people that hate it, like, I'm always just like, dude, just block the guy. If you don't like him, just block him. But he goes away forever if you just block him.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Seriously, enjoy it while it lasts. He is a giant troll. He is a giant troll. But I mean, he's got some balls. He's definitely got some balls. The way he puts
He has no
himself
ball
out there.
hair, Matt. He has no ball hair. He has balls, no ball hair. Let's be
He had to
specific.
shove the ball hair. He had to shave the ball hair to make us realize how much, how big his cojones are. And my oh my, are they massive?
I imagine his balls look a lot like his face. Very off-putting and weird. Yeah. So Felipe, man, he started out and he didn't really put out videos or anything like that. He was pretty much just like he would post and he'd be at the gym and he'd be like in a tank top and he'd be like, Dolphins fan here. And people just thought it was the funniest. They hated it so much. Rose to power. Well, it all came crashing down when I guess he says he accidentally shared child pornography. So yeah, I gotta give him the benefit of the doubt because he's like aggressively defended himself. He said like he did it on accident. I don't really know what happened. I think the guy's a weirdo. I don't think he's that weird. So we're kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt, but we do still keep him on post approval. Like obviously, like I'm still pretty terrified of what this guy's capable of. But yeah, so he had his rise and then he fell off sharply and now he's back. And that's so 2020, baby.
Can we pivot to a guy who seems to be coming and then going and then coming in and going? Because there's pretty big news that could shape the NFC playoff picture here in a couple of weeks. What do you guys think about Josh Gordon coming back?
Oh, what a segue! I'm excited for. I mean, I think he's still got talent. He's gotten a bit of a bad rap, and with his inability to stay away from the devil's lettuce. But they let AB back before him, and they let some other players who liked it, like token up a little bit. I think it comes at the perfect time for Seattle. I really do. I know they have issues other than their offense, but I think it's happened at the right time.
I think he's completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's a lesser version of AB, and look at the impact AB isn't having in Tampa Bay. I don't think that Seattle offense needs any disruption. If they need a spark, it's in the backfield, not lining up wide. So I mean, yeah, I guess there is no negative to it, but I actually see this being a non-story. When we're talking about the 2020 NFL season.
Yeah, I mean, you bring him on and you hope he makes a couple impact plays. He still blocks on the perimeter really well. But he's not going to take away DK Metcalf's touches. He's not going to take away Lockett's touches. In the last two comebacks he had I think legitimately this is probably his sixth comeback. The last two he came back out of shape. So how long does it take him to get up to speed? Is he even going to be on the field for these games? It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
it's probably his last chance.
I think
I thought that 2 chances ago though.
I think they're just looking for fresh legs before playoffs. I think it's a decent idea. Here's what I like about it. If you can take Josh Gordon and obviously DK and put them on the outsides, and then you put Lockett as their why is it
slot receiver? Yeah,
slot receiver. Like that's dangerous. And honestly, Seattle, I think they're just acknowledging how terrible their defense is. Like their offense is always going to have to compensate for it. So yeah, it is.
The question is he better than DJ Moore? And my guess is probably.
Yeah, exactly. So what does it hurt? You know what I'm saying? They bring him in a cheap contract. The question is, with the changing of the rules, how long does he last this time? Is it different this time? Because the rules are different. He's serving a suspension under different, circumstances where you can get suspended for weed. Now it's completely changed. He can no longer be suspended for that.
I think he'll be okay. Like I said, it's going to be a performance thing. He could play himself out of the league and just not perform. But to my understanding, he's never really had off-field issues aside from, his marijuana usage, which went against their drug policy. So, it's really on him now as far as what he can play, what he can put out, and how he can benefit Seattle. But this is just it could be one final ride for Josh Gordon maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think Seattle's firmly third in the NFC playoff picture. Whether they're able to jump the Saints or the Packers isn't going to be relying on their offense. It's going to be relying on their defense. So while I think he contributes and I think he's better than than what they currently have on the lining up on the other side of DK. That's not where the Seattle Seahawks need to line up to make a run to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's actually interesting. So you think they're firmly third?
I do.
At first, when I thought you said NFC West, and I'm like, what? But NFC. So the two, who do you have over them?
Yeah, I have the Saints as number one. I just think not obviously. I'm saying that with the assumption Drew Brees is going to be lining up as quarterback for the playoffs. I think their defense is absolutely incredible. I think they have the weapons. They got the backfield. I just like everything about New Orleans. And then I like Seattle has more weaknesses than the Packers have weaknesses. I think Seattle might have the higher ceiling than Green Bay, but they also have the lower floor. And when you have to win consecutive games in the NFL playoffs, I think the lower floor can hurt you. So that's why I'm slotting them behind Green Bay.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. Yeah, I honestly more question the fact that you put them at third. I'm surprised you think they're that good.
Oh, yeah. Really? Oh, who would you put over them?
Honestly, the Bucks, to be just straight up.
Oh no, they're a mess, bro. They're a mess.
I know they're a mess, but they're a more talented mess. Their defense is more together, and dude, I just can't buy. The Eagles gave. I mean, they didn't really give them that much run for their money, but they really play down their opponents. They can lose and beat anybody in the league, and that's concerning. The Bucks can too, but I just have more faith in the Bucks defense.
Their defense has been really bad the last probably almost month, 3 weeks. They've been giving up a lot of points.
Bucks, yeah. But do you not still like their talent? I think there's something going wrong with them scheme wise that I think Bulls can coach around. It's definitely in their secondary. I mean, they're getting torched in their secondary right now.
I think Seattle has better coaching and they have the quarterback advantage. So I mean, I would go Seattle third as well.
Interesting. Yeah. What about you?
I don't believe in Bruce Arians at all. I think that the tension between him and Tom is going to end up costing them a playoff game.
Yeah.
It is weird how he's calling him out, isn't it?
What? Yeah. It's very weird. What do you think, Matt?
No, I'd probably put him at 3 as well. Tampa Bay is like I'm not getting they're playing hard and they beat the piss out of Carolina a couple weeks ago, but I leave their games and there's not a whole lot of optimism there for me. I felt like the Giants should have beat them almost a month and a half ago. I'm not seeing that spark. I mean, there's no reason in heck that Tyreek Hill should have had 200 something yards in a quarter. 220, 230, whatever it was, in a quarter of football. Like, that is embarrassing. That's absolutely embarrassing. So yeah, the Bucks are a bit of a liability. They could be a one and done, depending on where they fall. Honestly, if they match up with the NFC, the NFC East, it could be one and done. Could be one and done there. Depends on where they fall. But Seattle has the offense to hang on and compete. The NFC really isn't it's not deep this year. It's very. I feel like the teams that are in, maybe one might flop out, but I think everybody's kind of in place, and I think Seattle can go with the best of them, but I don't know if they can match up with the Saints. I don't know if they can match up with Green Bay, which is the defensive regression.
Do we all?
Here's a hot take for you guys. I think out of all the NFC teams that are currently in the playoffs, the Bucks have the greatest chance to fall out. I would put the Rams over them.
I was going to go Arizona.
Arizona, man. If you think the Bucks are on a slide, Arizona is on a much worse slide, and they are showing concerns that are far beyond what the Bucks are showing.
And they do have a really tough schedule coming up.
The Bucks, like you all said. The Bucks' problem is obvious. Their secondary has fallen back to where it was in 2019. A lot of people don't know this, but the Bucks had the 32nd ranked secondary in 2019. It's clearly why they were so bad. Well, that and the fact that the quarterback threw 30 interceptions. But wait, was it 30? I think it was more, right? I think it was
33.
I think it was exactly 30 interceptions. No, he had more touchdowns and interceptions, but barely.
Yeah, I think it was 33 and 30.
One of their biggest problems was their secondary, and boom, here we go again. Their secondary looks terrible again. And yeah, it's concerning, but let's talk about Arizona. It's actually a topic I wanted to discuss because they are on a fall like I can't believe. If they don't get that Hail Mary, we're talking about a team with a losing record right now. So what are you guys' thoughts on the Cardinals? I kind of wish Marcus was on this pod because he has been sucking the Arizona D all year. But let me know, does anybody still think the Cardinals are making the playoffs?
I do.
Yeah.
I
think they limp in. I don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs, and I think they only limp in because of the expanded field. They're probably the last team in. We knew their defense was going to be bad. Their defense actually outperformed expectations for a while, and that's kind of started to fall back. Budda Baker is great, but you can only do so much, as one player. Offensively, I think that they figure out offense. I think it's easier to figure out offense than it is for like the Bucs situation with defense, just because a lot of that's responding to what's being dictated by the other team. Where if you're the offense, if you get it clicking, you get your timing again, you can start to dictate pace of play. They have the weapons. I mean, they have Hopkins, who's a top 2 receiver, top 3 receiver at worst. I think it's just a matter of force feeding him the ball. Go, some vintage Matt Stafford, Megatron, and just chuck it up. See 2-3 guys, who gives a shit? Just throw the ball.
What about you, Matt? Do the Cards make it?
If they do, it's going to be a little bit lower than people than think. I do agree. There is a case to be made for Tampa Bay to possibly slip, but you did make a great point that Hail Murray, they should be 5-6 right now. They should be 5, right? They're 6-5. Yeah, they should be 5-6 right now. Realistically, and a one in a million shot, like one of the best moments that we've had in 2020 as far as a play goes. But that's how close they are. They're in a very tough NFC West. San Francisco's getting hot. I'm not saying that San Fran's a playoff team, but this all, it all factors into tiebreakers and stuff. They might have to play them one more time. I'm not entirely certain, but
they do. They play the 49ers one more time. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
let's play one more time.
Let's talk about their schedule. So this is their schedule, and this is what worries me for the Cardinals. They have so many divisional matchups coming up. Like almost their entire schedule is divisional matchups. So they play the Rams this week. That's a tough game. I think they lose this game. So that puts them at 500. Then they go to the Giants. They're going to crush the Giants. In fact, it'll be an overwhelming game, I think. Then they beat the Eagles next game, then the 49ers, and then they finish off with the Rams. That is a really tough ending schedule. When you look at the Rams at week 17, that's going to be possibly for the divisional lead. So that's going to be a tough game for them. I don't know, man. I don't like what I see out of the Cardinals. Besides Kyler Murray, I'm very worried about what I see out of them.
I can tell you as a DeAndre Hopkins fantasy football owner who needs him to perform down the stretch and in the playoffs, I'm not feeling good.
It's frustrating.
It's really frustrating because he's putting up the points, but it's been in spots. It's either you beat a guy by 15, 20, or you lose. Too many single digit games. It's terrifying to see where it's at.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It's I don't even know what Arizona can really do at this point. I think they probably finish a 500 team, which is a step in the right direction. I think as their franchise goes going forward, that they didn't make the DeAndre Hopkins, I think, trade made a lot of people maybe overhype them a little bit, but right. I think it's a step in the right direction. I still think Cliff Kingsbury is the right guy going forward. Murray's weird though. Look at some of his stats. He'll take off for like 100 yards rushing, but his completion percentage will be like less than 50%. It's the wildest thing. And it leaves a lot of questions as to his longevity. I'm sure he'll be okay. Maybe. I don't know. But some inconsistencies in the passing game every now and then. It's a little worrisome.
That's interesting. So you're not a big Murray guy.
I think he's really good as far as a scrambling quarterback goes. We get these guys every now and then. They have a year or two that they're really hot. He's really good at selling fakes and taking off and burning defenders for a run. I watched him do it against the Buffalo Bills, and that's when their offense, everything started to click. But as far as passing goes, I think there's room to grow. He's only in his second year. They didn't have lack of an offseason. Not that there was a big change in who was running this squad, but there's room to grow. But it's as a passer, I'm not depending on Kyler Murray if I'm in the playoffs. I would not bet on Arizona going in the postseason.
He's a fantasy monster. But I don't know, man. I think you might be wrong about that. I think the best thing you're far too nice.
I am.
You're definitely from the Midwest, aren't you?
What's that?
You're definitely from the Midwest, aren't you?
Buffalo, which is really weird.
Wait, what? Oh man! All right. Well, we're gonna get into your interview later, but that blows my mind right there. That blows my mind. But another thing I wanted to talk about is Adam Gase is in the news again. So basically what he did is he openly admitted that he has failed Darnold in his development. So obviously this is the question that, everyone's been asking all year, but is this just like exactly what you said in the outline? Is this just a formality at this point? This guy's firing? He's gone, right?
I think it is, but I think this is twofold. I think that the front office is setting the stage for them to have the number 1 pick and trade out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're trying to set the stage for Darnold's still the guy. Our head coach who we're firing is the one that fucked this up. They're setting the stage so they can trade out of that pick and have a paper trail.
That's a great take. I like that.
It wouldn't be a sports memory podcast if I didn't give a degenerate gambling advice here. Right now, the Jets are plus money to go defeated. I did that bet a couple weeks ago. Right now they're at plus 144 to go 0-16. If you want to look at schedules, check out their schedule. I mean, they don't have a winnable game. They play the Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, Browns, Patriots. I mean, Raiders maybe, but I mean, all the rest of those teams are playoff teams, other than the Patriots. But I mean, but
all of a sudden the Patriots are beating good teams and not improving their draft position.
So I mean, I think it's all but a guarantee that they go 0-16. That's the only question to me. It's not whether Gase is going to get fired or not. It's whether they're going to go 0-16. And I've already made my bet 2 weeks ago that they are.
Right.
Yeah, Gase is definitely the fall guy. They know that he's not a good head coach. All right, he got Miami. They signed him. They haven't really done a whole lot in that regard. They had like the 7-9 season last year, like when Darnold came back and they won like a big stretch of games, which was kind of interesting. But he's gonna get them right where they want with Trevor Lawrence, and they're gonna give him the boot. Another one, just a coach. I talked the other night about like Bruce Arians kind of riding with some really great teams in his career. Andrew, great players. Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer, he revitalized his career. Adam Gase, Peyton Manning, and it's
Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are coming back for a next year, and they're going to wind up with neither quarterback after going 0-16.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they want the quarterback. Honestly, I think you're going to see an RG3 Julio type haul. That team has a lot of holes, and I honestly don't think quarterbacks are their biggest issue by any stretch.
I agree.
Darnold's at least serviceable, even if he's not the guy. I think there's potential there, but his development's been stunted. They hit the ball out of the park with Becton, so they have the tackle position solidified. I think you go out, get a couple either DBs, linebackers, get some playmakers on the edge. You can get a lot for that pick this year.
Honestly, name a position on the Jets. It's their weakness. They have no strengths.
Everything but quarterback and left tackle.
Yep.
They have Frank Gore. You watch your mouth. You absolutely watch your goddamn mouth.
I'm talking with some guys who actually appreciate Sam Darnold too. I think the Jets failed him miserably. Kept taking away stuff from him, and he gets a lot of flack. I mean, I live in the Buffalo market. They hate Sam Darnold here, but I watch him play. He plays with his heart on his sleeve. He really does. He despite not having it, he'll jet downfield and take off if he has to. I never thought about Sam Darnold as a scrambling quarterback, but I'll watch him run to make a first down or beyond that, because it's just what else is he gonna do? Just stay there and get popped, see some more ghosts? Poor fella.
Yeah.
Which New York quarterback would you guys rather have? Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold?
Darnold.
Yeah,
Darnold, but it's not.
I'm thinking. I just like the athletic. I get sucked in by Daniel Jones every year because he has the makeup. He has everything you want, and it just continues to disappoint.
Can I get quarters 1 through 3 of Josh Allen, and then the fourth quarter of one of the other two guys?
With Daniel Jones, if they could get an offensive coordinator like Greg Roman, who has had guys like Kaepernick, if you can play Daniel Jones out of the pistol, I mean, that's the problem with Daniel Jones, right? They've treated him his entire career as if he's this pocket passer. He's never going to be that guy. Honestly,
No.
he will never be that guy. And I think I'm not going to call it racist, but I think it's a little bit of like he's a white guy. So they're kind of like assigning him this role. Run this guy to the pistol. Run him as the athlete that he is. He has one of the top 5 fastest top speeds this entire year. We're not talking about just the quarterback position. We're talking about just straight players.
That run he fell down on, he reached a top speed faster than anything Lamar's done in the NFL.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the only guy that's beat him, there's only 2 guys that have beat him this year, Mostert and Hill. So that's elite company to be in. Run this guy to the pistol and run him a lot. He's this big, kind of awkward dude. Run him as a running quarterback. He's not a pocket passer. That's how they're misusing him.
No, I think he's Alex Smith with a plus arm.
Oh,
That's a good. I like that comparison. Yeah, I mean he's starting to clean up though. I know the Giants are a bit of a mess. They've been in a weird transition stage for the last 5 years, but he's cleaned up his interceptions, and you can tell they look like a better team. The Giants in Washington right now, as far as the NFC East goes, they're the 2 front runners in my opinion. Philadelphia's slipping, Dallas is what it is, but Giants have actually been playing really good football, and you got to keep in mind too, they don't even have their all-star running back in, and Daniel Jones is playing good, safe football. This has been his biggest problem. He's been on the cusp of winning a lot of games, and he throws a turnover. But I think since the Tampa Bay game, maybe a game after that, he has not thrown. After the Tampa Bay game, he has not thrown an interception. He hasn't turned the ball over, to my understanding, which is good. And the Giants are obviously thriving for that in the NFC East. They're right at the top there. So,
right. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think the Giants and Washington are clearly the front runners. I think Washington's going to definitely win that division, though, which is so bizarre, by the way. Alex Smith. All right, so it's overplayed, but let me know if you had Alex Smith starting a playoff game on your 2020 bingo card. Well, I'm sorry. That'll actually be in 2021 technically, but wow, what a fucking wild year. Alex Smith might actually be starting a home playoff game. What a bizarre year. Yeah.
And if you're in that division, I mean, no one in that division is gonna make a run. None of those teams are good. Even the
bullshit. Washington's winning a game.
But look at the difference in that, specifically in that division, winning the division makes from your draft order.
Yeah,
because as a division winner making the playoffs to what those guys' records are, it's like a 10-pick difference.
I mean, they're going to play Tampa Bay in the first round, and can you imagine what that front 7 of Washington's going to do to Tom Brady? I love if Washington.
Tom's going to be laying down.
I think that is serious juice right there in that 4-5 matchup. I love it.
Does Washington stand any chance against Pittsburgh this week? Any chance at all?
Oh, absolutely not.
If the last Pittsburgh team showed up,
I was going to say, and the one that played Dallas and struggled, maybe. I mean, this offense is starting to heat up a little bit. I've been really enjoying watching Alex Smith play football this year, not just because he's his miraculous comeback, but he's given this team a bit of an offensive identity. He's everything's changed for that team. I think they're a lot more competitive with Alex Smith under center. The jury may still be out with Dwayne Haskins, but I mean, moving on to Alex Smith was despite benching Dwayne Haskins, despite Kyle Allen getting his head mushed. I think it all lined up perfectly for Alex Smith and to lead this team. You think a couple years ago, before his leg injury, Washington was one of the NFC East that year too. 2018, they were the 3rd seed in the NFC conference, and then he got his leg blown up, and everything went downhill from there. So it's a big testament to Alex Smith, who I think gets underappreciated sometimes.
Honestly, we talked about it in the overreaction pod, and I really believe this. If it is true that Riverboat Ron is done for next year, the Washington is the best head coaching job I think you can possibly have, right? You got Antonio Gibson is a top 7 fantasy running back right now. He's been phenomenal. You have a top 10 undisputed, possibly even top 5 wide receiver talent in McLaurin. And by the way, am I pronouncing that right? Is it McLaurin or McLaren?
I think it's McLaren. It's McLaren.
Is it McLaren? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's an absolute stud. He's the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. I don't really think there's any argument about that. You have a really great front seven. You really just have to build their secondary. Their defense is lit. I mean, is there any more desirable coaching job right now than Washington? I can't think of any.
I think the Jets are attractive. They have a quarterback, they have a left tackle, they have draft capital.
No. The team is the Chargers. The Chargers is the most desirable coaching position.
Yeah, but they're going to stick with Lynn for way too long.
Then the other team that I think is in the conversation, but I'd probably still give an edge to Washington, would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a strong secondary. They have talent linebacker. They have wide receiver talent. They have a running back randomly who kind of exceeded his expectations.
Not randomly. But that guy is fucking for real. And
they have a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So you got Gardner Minshew to back up whoever else you bring in with your picks. They're up 2 seconds and a third in additional capital, so it's a decent job. But no, I think Washington is probably the best pick. The only issue is you have a hole at quarterback.
I mean, I swear I'm not being a contrarian here, Derek. How do you not bring up Atlanta? I mean, I think Atlanta and
I would not want to inherit that Matt.
I think Atlanta and Houston have higher upside than Jacksonville and New York. Are you kidding me? Like,
Houston has no draft capital.
Well,
they gave up.
They have Deshaun Watson.
They gave up the farm to bring in Laramie Tunzel, and they have a lot of holes. I wouldn't want that Texans job.
We actually talked about this on Matt's podcast just a couple days ago. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, vacancies. Yeah, it's there's a difference between the head coach and like as a general manager, Jacksonville all day with the draft capital, and you made a good point with Houston, of course, with Deshaun Watson. But as a head coach, I mean, right now Washington is particularly interesting. They do have like that defense. I think it's a top 10 defense right now. It is really significant. It's young and it's talented. So like I can sense a bit of a culture change in Washington. And you're at a time right now where there's a big hole. We don't in Philadelphia. Maybe I don't know. Doug Peterson could be a surprise hot seat candidate. Honestly, they don't know what to do with Carson Wentz. I don't know. I like him as a head coach, but he had a lot of flack this year. Carson Wentz is the jury's kind of out. He's taking a lot of criticism this year for some of his decision making. Dallas is a hot mess. Dak Prescott definitely has a big bargaining chip to go back there, but yeah, I don't know. Somebody else can pay me. I might not. I might avoid that. And then the Giants are the Giants. So I think from a potential of building something, maybe I think Washington could be it. The quarterback is obviously a hole. They might ride out Alex Smith another year or so, or give Haskins a true preseason, with a new coach. But I don't think he's the answer. But
in my mind, Houston is closer to Seattle to competing. I think Houston is a few pieces away from competing.
But the problem is you don't have the capital to go get those pieces. They gave away the farm to get Tunzel.
You can. I'm not talking about drafting guys. I'm talking about going and finding players either from the scrap heap or making a splash or two. I see Houston as someone. I think they're going to finish this year 6-10, 7-9. I mean, if you look at their schedule, it's pretty favorable. I think they're a couple wins away from playing a playoff team in the next year or two. The same thing cannot be said about the Jets or Jacksonville or some of those other teams, the Giants, Philly. I think Houston is the closest to being a competitor, and as a coach, that's where I want to go. Find me the best player with Deshaun Watson, and I'll go find the rest of the pieces to make it work.
Honestly, I wasn't laughing at your Houston.
He hit that note.
Yes, you kept hitting that note. Oh, dude,
hit it.
You picked up on it before I even did. Yeah, dude. Your Houston take is spot on, but yeah, you had like a playoff. I think they're going to be in the playoffs next year.
I would be afraid. If you look at Houston, their best wide receiver has had chronic injury issues his entire career. They're all world defensive end, same problem. Like that's just I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily the job I'd want. And then from a Washington standpoint, Dan Snyder's still part of the equation.
Yeah,
I think he's a terrible owner.
Yeah, see, I'm all in on Washington just because, or I'm sorry, I'm all in on Houston just because you have Deshaun Watson. I talked about it in Matt's podcast just a couple days ago. Deshaun Watson is the top 5 quarterback in this league. You're going to roll the dice on everybody that you draft on any other team. The Redskins are going to go out. They're going to try and find their quarterback. Jacksonville's going to go out. They're going to try and find their quarterback. They're going to fail probably, very likely.
History would say they will. History would say they're going to.
You go with the quarterback. You know Deshaun Watson is the guy. And Derek, do you disagree? He's a top 5 quarterback? Would you put ahead of him?
I don't know if I'd put him in top 5, but he's right. He's right there. He's 6, 7, 8 in that area.
Oh, name 7 or 8 guys ahead of Deshaun Watson.
I said 6, 7, 8. I put 5 ahead of him. I would take Russell Wilson. I would still take Aaron Rodgers. I would take. I would take Herbert. I'm a Herbert guy.
No, Mahomes, and there's your 3. You got Russ. You got Russ, Rodgers, and Mahomes. End list. Deshaun Watson's the 4th best quarterback.
I agree. I happen to agree. I love Herbert. Everyone knows how much I love Herbert. I went out and got him in our fantasy league for a pretty ridiculous price. But yeah, you can't put Herbert ahead of him at this point. I mean, we have one season. We have multiple seasons of Deshaun Watson's greatness. The things that Deshaun Watson, as bad as Houston is, you can't disagree that Houston is doing still decently good considering how.
Yeah, but I just the issues that they have. I think that a lot of the talent and people in their roster are on the wrong side of their careers.
Yeah, I mean, but think
I think they're going to have
guy.
more holes. They don't have a running back. David Johnson's fucking awful. Duke Johnson's worse. So they don't have a running back. Fuller's a question mark. Brandon Cooks,
though.
Brandon Cooks is like an invisible number 2 that is super consistent, but is never going to lead a receiving core.
I got yelled at last year because I didn't put him as a wide receiver 1. I'm like, dude, he's bounced around on so many teams over the last 4 years. He's not a wide receiver 1 anymore.
You know you're going to get out of him. You're going to get 1,000 yards and 6 to 8 touchdowns, but that's only if you have the other guy because he's not beating your best corner.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's a good conversation.
Yeah.
I do want to move on. Matt is not one of our regulars. Matt is actually a first-time guest. He hailed to us. The funny thing about the internet is who you meet along the way. And the way that we met Matt is that actually, of all people, the Booth King shared his meme about the Buck. It was the Bucks, right? Signing Airbuds.
Yes.
Yep. So the Bucks signed Airbuds. So Booth posted his post, and I know you don't know Booth. This is all very confusing to everybody that's listening, but shared his post, and that's how you kind of came upon us. But you got a page. Tell us a little bit about your page. What's your name, and what are you guys about?
Sure thing. The podcast, the Facebook page is called The 2 Point Conversation. It literally started off with me and guests every single week, and now we have now we got a team of 9 or 10 hosts. We do podcasts every day, Monday through Friday, something a little bit for everybody. We like to keep it casual. We know who we are. All right, we're not the Stephen A. Well, definitely not Stephen A. Smith. We're not the experts. These alumni. That played in the NFL. We like to keep things fun. We like to keep it like just a group of friends who are chatting about football. And we got a goofy cast. They're a lot of fun, and people are starting to catch on. But it's for the casual fan. We're trying to smarten up ourselves a little bit. We're always learning as we go. But yeah, it's a good time. It's you can listen to it on our network's website. We're a part of a network called The Network, but it's at bicbp-radio.com. Say that 5 times fast. Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and it's a good time. I like to think so. If you don't like one episode, one theme of an episode, you might like the theme of another one. So we try to mix it up in that way. So there is something for everyone.
So let me ask you a question. So you're based in Buffalo.
Yes.
So what made you? Because this was a wild hair up our ass that made us start this website about a year ago. We all have full-time jobs, as I'm sure you do too. But what made you want to just start this?
I try to talk football with people just on social media, and social media is the absolute it can't live with it, can't live without it, right? So I try to have conversations with people just back and forth like we're doing today. And I wasn't getting that from social media. Like people would be like, oh, your opinion's shit, and not give like a defensible, like a counterpoint so we can kind of go back and forth. And it really aggravated me. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna create a show. People want to listen, that's fine. Bring in guests and just talk to multiple people with different levels of fandom and different favorite teams, and just have good conversations. And you know, I, and our guest Tim and Vince had a pretty good one the other night. We picked it apart. I thought it went very well, and we get to do that, every week. And I've met a lot of cool people from it, just much like yourself, people I've never met in person, but people, via the internet, people I never thought I'd talk to again in my life. They come back and they hop on the podcast, and it's a really good time. So, but yeah, I love it, man. I love it. It's almost therapeutic for me. I love being able to kind of just come in and just chat and, let everything out, whether people agree with it or not. So it's a good time.
So when did you guys get started, and like what ultimately would you like to take this thing?
My first episode was June of 2018. I assembled a team exactly a year ago today. I started bringing in. We brought in 4 or 5 other co-hosts, and everybody got a day with me. We picked the theme and whatnot. I want to see how big it can go. Like I know the likelihood of being able to pay the bills of the podcast is possibly unlikely. If I could somehow figure out how to go about it, I'd absolutely love to. But I really enjoy it. We just had a really, really good month last month, our best month by a mile as far as listenership goes, and very, very proud of it, because doing episodes 5 days a week is exhausting, and sometimes it doesn't feel as rewarding. And then you get those numbers back, and it's pretty rewarding. So I'm just kind of just going with the flow, letting whatever happens. But I'm always pushing. I'm always working hard. Whether it's doing daily stuff for the Facebook page, which I've taken a lot of inspiration for you guys as far as how frequently you guys post. And I did want to thank you all for allowing me to share my stuff into your group, the memes group every now and then. Just I like having fun. I like getting people to kind of open up and maybe even meet somebody else that has a similar, favorite team or a similar belief or thought, whatever, they're from the same area, and just having them kind of connect. It's really cool.
Sure, man. Dude, we respect the hustle. Obviously, we're trying to accomplish the same thing, and yeah, man, dude, anytime. Like you don't have to thank us for allowing you to share our shit. Like that's.
Oh, I do. I'm humbled. Like that. Well, that doesn't sound very humble, but I
you're
seriously.
way too nice. You're way too nice. Like you got to get mean.
Way too nice. So Matt is actually a Colts fan.
I am.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Brandon actually lives in Indy. Me and Derek both live in Tampa, but Brandon at the bottom left there, he lives in Indy. So
I'm so jealous.
But he's a Steelers fan. He's a Steelers fan. So
I respect that. How could you not like the Steelers?
Right.
My cousin's a Steelers fan. He lives in Rochester. Yeah, I don't know. I got to it just like a lot of other people did. The Peyton Manning got drafted. I was like, oh, I'm going to bandwagon right on this motherfucker. And I did, and we gravitated towards it. And like last 2018, 2019, I finally got to go to Indy and see Lucas Oil Stadium. It is so much better, so much more like my favorite football viewing experience. I hate watching games in Buffalo. It is a rough group. It is a very rough group of people with beer flying everywhere.
Right.
Lots of violence and stuff. Indy's just so it's so peaceful. I feel like an old man saying it, but
Matt, listen to Matt. It's like having a character from Fargo on.
If you value your worldview, that Steelers fans, like, what can you not like about them? Just don't join any of their fan groups, please.
Oh my God, Steelers.
Or be in a group message with me. Either one.
I'm in the fan groups for probably 20, 25 teams in the league. I'm not exaggerating. They're the worst. Like even when they're winning, having a great season, they are the whiniest bunch of bitches in the entire.
I was in one for a week, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I even unfollowed them, and I'm like, I don't even want to share anything to this place because y'all are awful. Sometimes some of you are, I get that a lot in Buffalo though. Buffalo fan, like I'm not the biggest fan of Buffalo fans, if that makes any sense. They're a little rough and picky.
Yeah, I hate Tampa fans.
Hard to please. I heard Drew's very critical Oh, we did talk about this the other day. He was very critical of Tampa fans.
We all are. But Mr. Matt Johnson, his podcast is called The 2 Point Conversation. Definitely check them out. I was on their podcast just a few days ago. Great guys, great podcast, great setup.
Thank you.
So Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my absolute pleasure.
Let's move on. So it's been an interesting year. At first, I think it was kind of obvious who the MVP race was going to be around. I think, Russell Wilson kind of jumped out there, and everyone thought it was just Russell's to take. But at this point, things are kind of leveling off. We are seeing running back production like I've really have not seen in quite some time. Two guys, specifically Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook, who are just kind of running away and are putting up numbers like we haven't seen in a little bit. But at this point, can we see a running back MVP? We have not seen it since Adrian Peterson, all the way back in, I believe it was 2012. Let's just go around the room. Who's the MVP in your eyes, and can we see a running back MVP this year for the first time in a long time?
So I think that if we're going to see it, this is like the ultimate litmus test, if that door is closed forever or not, because I think there's as strong a case this year as there has been since Adrian Peterson. The quarterback field, Mahomes has been great, but he's had some bad games. He hasn't been really hit the level that he's established for himself, which is crazy because that kind of hurts you. It's the same thing with Bill Belichick not winning Coach of the Year every year during his prime, because you almost have to exceed his previous years. And I think Mahomes is kind of falling victim to that. Like you said, Wilson slid back to the pack. Kyler Murray looked like he might be a dark horse for a little while. That's completely out the window. Fuck that shit. As an angry Hopkins owner,
you can say the same thing about Josh Allen. His
same thing. And I think everything that the Tennessee Titans do starts and ends with Henry. I think he'd be my candidate, and the slight edge over Dalvin. I think Dalvin, if Henry didn't exist, I think Dalvin has a strong enough resume to win it. But I think Henry playing every game and everything they do, the success that Tannehill has had, kind of this resurgence in his career, is completely predicated off play action passing. If Derrick Henry doesn't exist, that whole offense doesn't run.
That's true. As a Colts fan who just watched Derrick Henry just clap our defensive lines, our entire defense's cheeks last week, and I can definitely attest to that. And this is around like the same time of year too that like Derrick Henry starts to get hot, but he's been hot all year. Like he's maybe had like one down game. If there is any year that it's going to happen, it would be this one. Unfortunately, I think everybody, the quarterback is that big sexy position. Everybody loves it and always seems to kind of go, but there is an odd mix of people. I'm looking at the betting odds right now, and like Derrick Henry's like plus 3,300 odds. Patrick Mahomes is the odds-on favorite, but he's had as many slip-ups as an Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not as much as Russell Wilson. Josh Allen's been inconsistent. He was a front runner through the first 4 weeks of the season. I would love to see a running back get thrown in the mix. And Henry's probably been the most consistent one. We don't, Dalvin Cook will have like a 200-yard game and then slow it down a little bit the following one. But Derrick Henry's been I think consistent across this year, which is really good for him. He's usually not a first half, superstar, but he's been good, and he gets really good towards the back half of the season.
Yeah, my answer is the same it's been over the past month. Whoever's team ends up having the best record is going to win it. If Ben goes 16-0, Ben's going to win the MVP. If Aaron Rodgers has a better record than Patrick Mahomes, it's going to go to Aaron Rodgers. Vegas believes this race is over. Mahomes is -400. For those that don't know that means if you bet $1, you win $0.25. Like that's how much of a landslide they think this is already. Dalvin, like we said over the past couple of weeks, the MVP truly is a team success. Offensive rookie isn't, defensive rookie isn't, but MVP is tied to team success. That's why Dalvin's plus 8,000 and he's 9th on the list. Dalvin's not in this, but as I think Derek and Matt both mentioned, Derrick Henry's number 5. He's at plus 3,300, which is pretty unlikely, but say Ben and the Steelers slip and lose 3 of the next 4, Ben's out. Say Russell keeps playing how he's playing, he's out. So really, I think I think I think Derek has a great argument if he can keep it up. And, I like him kind of just as much as I like anyone not named Patrick Mahomes, for being perfectly honest. Unfortunately, I think this thing's already done, and Patrick Mahomes is winning another MVP.
Yeah, I think I would lean towards Patrick Mahomes. I don't think a running back wins it. I agree with that 100%. Unless if Derrick Henry already has as many 200-yard games as Barry Sanders. Derrick Henry, I got to admit, I kind of bet against the guy. He is exceptional. He really has been unbelievable to this point in his career. He has put up numbers. He's very boomer bust from a fantasy perspective, but he just keeps rolling. And if he can continue to do what he's done all year going forward, and the Titans make the playoffs, winning position, Matt, you're a Colts fan. I mean, he dominated you guys last week. You guys have a great defense. What he is doing, it deserves mention. So I think if the Titans can win, and they can, let's say they win 12 games, I think Derrick Henry has to be in consideration. I don't think we can take Russell Wilson out of it. If the Seahawks run the table and Russell Wilson is exceptional, I think you got to give it to him, because the Chiefs have a great overall roster, whereas Russell Wilson, I think, is doing more with less. So yes. I'm personally rooting for Russell Wilson. I would love to think that he is going to win it, but yeah, I have to agree. I think Patrick Mahomes is to lose at this point.
See, I think it's just funny that it's most valuable player, because it's almost never the most valuable player. I mean, if we're talking about value, then it's Russell Wilson, and it's not close. But this is always who's playing the best. I mean, that's what this award is. It's never the most valuable.
So I actually have a proposition. What just take away quarterbacks from even being able to win MVP. So I know it's crazy, but establish a new award, kind of like the Cy Young. Which is funny because pitchers can actually now, they've always have been able to win MVP, but they never do. I think take quarterback out of the running of MVP, make that a more interesting award, and just have like a Maxwell award, have the best quarterback award, because the quarterback wins it every year. A running back hasn't won it. A non-quarterback has not won it since 2012. That's fucking ridiculous. Like, it's already a quarterback award. Create a new award that's like the sub MVP, just the best quarterback award, and then just take quarterbacks out of the running so it's a more interesting race. What do you guys think about that?
I like that. I love it. Yeah, I do. I mean, there's a couple years ago where Aaron Donald was like putting up like MVP numbers, or as far as what he could do on the defensive side, but defensive players really don't get that kind of look. And the Rams haven't been a really they've been all right, but they haven't been a super consistent team. They missed the postseason last year. So, but I fully agree. Do the quarterback award. Everybody loves the quarterback, and keep that within its own. But I think quarterbacks don't succeed without good wide receivers, good tight ends, in some cases, good running, really good running backs and stuff like that. It all opens things up for the quarterback, and you did make a good point too. Like, Patrick Mahomes is spoiled, man. Can you imagine coming to the league with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce? He had Kareem Hunt, and now he's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's got it all. He's got it all in front of him, and it's just making his job even easier. It's pretty insane.
Can we jump over to the other side of the ball, since Matt did bring up Aaron Donald? If we want to talk about an actual race, Vegas right now has, for Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt plus 200. Aaron Donald plus 225. So basically same. Right now, man, I think that is really tough, because while I'm biased and I'd go TJ Watt, they've both been absolute monsters. Who do you guys got right now, if you guys had to choose, Donald or Watt?
See, this is to me, this is a situation where there isn't the tag of value. So I don't need to rate the value or importance of a defensive tackle versus an outside rusher, because there's more value in an outside rusher. To me, for this position is what's the gap between number 1 and number 2? Who's the second best defensive tackle? Nobody fucking knows. You don't even know who the second best defensive tackle is. You just know that Aaron Donald's the best.
Yeah, by far. It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the first week, and he was shoving around Dallas's offensive line. He sent Ezekiel Elliott flying, and it's like it's just been nonstop dominance. It might have been week 1, maybe a couple weeks after. But yeah, Donald's the de facto face of that defense. I know they got some good pieces there, but he's the face of it. He's the face of it. He's been playing really good at a high level for a long time, and he doesn't get enough. I know awards are goofy sometimes, but he doesn't get enough credit in that regard.
I would say Aaron Donald 100%, on the defensive side. Myles Garrett, though, I think is kind of a sleeper. I think Myles Garrett could certainly put up a case for Defensive Player of the Year.
He's plus 400. He's third. He's third according to Vegas.
He's been fantastic.
I'm also curious to see what TJ does without Dupree now that Dupree's out.
Yeah.
Now that you can definitely, you can't really roll double. You can't chip. It's hard to chip Watt with Dupree on the other side.
How long is Dupree out?
ACL gone.
Oh, wow. That's brutal.
Bush and Dupree, 50% of their linebacking core.
That's brutal, man. That's a huge. Okay, a little bit more credence to the possible Washington upset this week. It's not going to happen, but it could happen. That would be a bad one loss, man. That would give so many of the quote unquote haters some ammunition. Ooh.
I'm watching it. One of my best friend in Indy is a Washington football team fan, so I fucking hope that doesn't happen.
How do you feel about the Steelers right now?
So yeah, as Matt pointed out, they looked really bad against Dallas. They certainly didn't look good against the Ravens. But the question I keep coming back to is, how do you beat this team? Because they've scored 40 and they've won, and they've scored 19 and they've won. Like we talked about, how do you beat Seattle? Well, you beat them like this. How do you beat Tom Brady? How do you? I think the Steelers can win in so many multitude of ways that I still feel pretty good despite the poor performances we've seen, because there isn't a clear cut like this is how you beat the Steelers. That script hasn't been wrote yet. So yeah, I'm still feeling pretty good. At them 11-0. I really do.
So as a fan who went through this, I can tell you just from the outside, from a fan perspective, you can feel like the tension every week. When you get closer, people start talking about it more and more. The fucking Mercury Morris starts chiming in from obscurity. Like that culmination builds around it. It becomes a lot of pressure. And honestly, this is something that I just kind of thought of when you talk about going into the playoffs. So we know where the Steelers' floor is right now. Hopefully that's their floor, what they did against Baltimore. That floor is not good enough to beat any team that's going to be in the playoffs on the AFC side of the house. They're going to get the bye week no matter what. They've pretty much already clinched that, or they will soon. So they're going to have a week off. In today's climate, I don't think a week off is a good thing. I think letting guys get away from the facility, have an extra day or two off, good chance they go out and catch something. And now you're not available for a playoff game because they're not going to be moving playoff games. You're going to play with whoever is there.
Right.
I don't know that I want that bye week. I think from just an objective standpoint, I would be the least comfortable of any undefeated 11-0 team probably in the history of the NFL is if you're sitting as a Steelers fan right now.
So who are they going to lose? Do you guys think they go 16-0?
There's nobody really that convincing on their schedule left.
It's Colts or Bills. It's Colts or Bills. That's it.
I think they could.
I don't know if
there's a lot of arrogant Bills fans that think they're going to be the ones right now. I can tell you that much up here in Buffalo.
They're probably the most likely. I mean,
I would have to agree.
Buffalo.
I would have to agree, but I don't know. I just there's inconsistencies where Pittsburgh has strength. So where Pittsburgh has strengths, the injury things that they could add up and they could hurt Pittsburgh in the long run. But yeah, I mean, this team is way ahead of where I thought it would be this year. Like I gotta give them a lot of credit. I did not think that they would be at this point this year, the only undefeated team in the NFL. Everybody likes to knock, some of their victories, and I think it's a bit of an unfair criticism. But I mean, look what Big Ben is doing with this receiving class, receiving core. Who thought Chase Claypool would have been, as great as he has been? Deontay Johnson stepped up big. This is a really good squad that I'd be afraid to bump into in the postseason. Like I'm excited for a Pittsburgh KC matchup. I know over the last decade, I think Pittsburgh's had pre-Patrick Mahomes, but Pittsburgh's had KC's number for the most part. But yeah, I'm happy for Pittsburgh. It's what's that?
Yeah, where's their weakness? I mean, if anything, it's at the running back position. I mean, if you want to, if like it's not in their secondary, it's not in their front seven, it's not their offensive line.
I mean, I think their front seven just took a significant hit, though. I don't think we can just say it's not their front seven. If I'm the Tennessee Titans, I feel good. You just run the ball down their throats, keep the ball away, and hope that Johnson has a couple key drops again.
Stephon Tuitt, top 10 in PFF. Cam Hayward, top 5 in PFF. Tyson Alualu, top 5 in PFF. That's their 3 defensive linemen.
But PFF is an efficiency in this season against the schedule they've played, which is not good.
Correct, but I'm saying that's 3 studs on the defensive line.
Sure,
and Vince Williams is one of the best
definitely inflated due to the competition they've played.
They lean hard on linebackers, and they've lost 2 studs this year. I wonder when it does take effect. It certainly hasn't yet. I mean, RG3's numbers last week were fucking embarrassing.
For 38 yards.
It's fucking embarrassing. I mean, that's that. If you're a Lamar hater, okay. Lamar Jackson, he is what he is, but Jesus, take a look at what the backup quarterback just did for the Ravens. If you are a Lamar hater, you have got to respect him a little bit more after what we just saw. That was embarrassing. It was bad. Really bad performance.
Yeah, I mean, if they get in a situation where they have to play in the playoffs, the Bills, Chiefs, Saints, I don't know that I like them to go 3-0 in that situation.
Right. Yep.
Oh, I do. I would love that draw. I would kill for that draw. A team on the NFC side that again, I think Green Bay can. Yeah, Green Bay is a team I'm most scared about in the NFC, and in the AFC, it's obviously Kansas City. So if I'm going against Buffalo, if I'm going against Tennessee, and I'm going against the Saints, I think the Steelers are favored in all 3 of those games. I'm much more concerned about the teams that can score, because Pittsburgh is one-dimensional on offense. You guys didn't bring it up, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking for any weakness, it is their one-dimension offense. And Ben is prone to a few interceptions, so one bad game Ben can bounce them, and if they can't score 35 points with the Seattles, the Green Bays, and the Kansas Cities, then you're in trouble. All those other teams, they'll win a game in the 20s. 29 and under, they'll win that game.
And when you think of the Steelers, traditionally you think of good defense, and they run the ball, which favors them in the playoffs in the winter months. I mean, they're so predicated on how old's Ben, 37, on a 37-year-old quarterback who's coming off injuries, who's had issues, those old ass joints in the cold, slinging the ball 40 times a game.
Yep.
I just don't. I don't know. I mean, if you feel comfortable, that's great. From my perspective, I mean, I wouldn't. And again, I've been to 18-0.
Old Papa there giving you some juice.
I'm just saying that you can go there and say, well, no one's beat him. How do you beat him? A team will find a way.
Yep. One thing you cannot argue with: the Steelers are the worst 11-0 team currently in the NFL. Speaking of 30. Speaking of 37-year-old quarterbacks, what about the Falcons and Matt Ryan? Is there anything to look into? Like, should we even care about this? Matt Ryan's he's 37, right? 36. He's somewhere in that range. He's fucking old, is my point. But the Falcons are rolling, dude. Just destroyed the Raiders last week. Beat the Vikings. They have some interesting wins on their record. Do we even need to care about this team?
Not this year.
Can they win it out?
No.
Can they win it out?
No. I don't think 9-7 will be good enough to get in the postseason on the NFC side.
Right.
I don't think so.
I think they beat New Orleans this weekend, though. I think they beat New Orleans. I think that's an upset this weekend. I don't think they beat them the second time, though.
Is that predicated on Drew Brees not? You saying without Drew Brees they beat them? Because I mean that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Wait, Drew Brees isn't going to play.
Yeah.
But no, they're going to get their asses kicked by the Saints again this week. I was mostly just joking. I don't believe in Atlanta. I mean, they beat the Raiders. Who gives a shit? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's one of these things. It's like, don't even worry about that loss. The Raiders have had other bad losses this year. The Raiders, by the way, have beat the Saints this year, so that's kind of interesting. But no, I think the Saints are going to dominate Atlanta just like they did a couple weeks ago.
I would feel that way. I would feel that way if they had any sort of a Navy football style offense. I think Atlanta does what Atlanta does, and I think they go up 17-0, and Taysom Hill can't throw the ball. So I think
Jared Cook had 1 target last week.
Yeah. So I mean, they're not going to be built to come back from. So, the Saints aren't going to be able, or the Atlanta's not going to be able to blow the lead because Taysom Hill's at quarterback. That's where I'm getting at.
So what I'd be worried about from an Atlanta fan standpoint is you don't marry the rebound. They're gonna offer a contract to Raheem Morris, and it's gonna go fucking terribly. And I think that's the number 2 reason that Gase still has a job is because they don't even want to get into a situation where they're tempted to hire an interim coach. They just want to clean house, start from scratch. Because the interim coach comes in, guys start playing hard because they start playing for jobs. They run off 4 out of 6 games, and then you get shanghaied into hiring them. And
I agree with that 100%.
Don't do it.
Atlanta
Morris already proved that he's a coordinator. Yeah. He's a good coordinator. Raheem Morris is a great coordinator.
Yeah,
he's not a head coach.
Right.
No, because he was the head coach at Tampa Bay a couple years ago. It was
really bad.
Man, what a bad experiment that was. Maybe he's
starting to bring up bad memories. Oh no, you guys already Tampa fans. That's right. That's right. That's right. Live in Tampa, not Tampa fans. That's right.
We all hate Tampa.
And then he went back to being a coordinator and was a good coordinator immediately.
Right.
I don't know, Drew. I mean, I'm looking up the odds right now. They have Atlanta as the same odds to beat New Orleans as Arizona to beat the Rams. So they think both games are almost close to pick'ems there. So I wouldn't say it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be. I think again, it's for those that are going to listen on Sunday morning. You're getting my upset special of the week. And I've been money on those the past couple. With unfortunately, Matt, I picked Tennessee as my upset special last Sunday.
That's fair. I have this thing where if I treat the Colts like shit on air, that they usually play. They usually play good. It didn't work out last week, but they did beat Green Bay when I did that. So it's okay. And I've been picking against the Colts the whole way.
The old reverse psychology. I love it.
It almost worked.
Yeah, imagine if you're the Giants, and so the Giants get rid of Gase. They're going to move Greg Williams to the interim coach. You don't want Greg Williams running your franchise.
No, you don't.
No.
I love the Gase theory, and I do agree with it. I think they're worried about firing Gase because they think they might win a few games if they do. I truly believe that. I think Gase is such a train wreck. They're like, dude, let's hold on to this train wreck. And the Jets. So I'm actually in the Jets subreddit, and they are totally clinging on to this theory. They love it. I would love it too. Keep Gase. Fuck it. Dude, ride him into the ground. Adam Gase, I truly believe he will never be a head coach in the NFL ever again. No. It has been such an embarrassing roadshow for him. I mean, it's really I haven't.
But I mean, it's one of those things where like the data, the signs, what you're seeing, it fits together so well. If you're the Jets, you guarantee you have the number 1 overall pick. You don't have an awkward situation where you might have to hire an interim, and now he's now becoming the fall guy for why they're going to keep Sam Darnold.
Right.
It's great. It's beautiful. It's coming together masterfully.
All right, guys. Should we wrap this thing up?
Absolutely. I just want to say, as a fan of football, I can't take any more ACL injuries. We had Michael Penix go down with my Hoosiers on Saturday, and then we have Bud go down with an ACL. I don't think it ruins either team's seasons, but both teams got just absolutely decimated by ACL injuries. So I need a little bit of good juju because I'm feeling some injury depression over here.
You scored a touchdown. You got some good juju this week.
Nah.
Yep. All right, guys. Flight to Tunisia means we're rolling down here. But Matt, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. You
guys are awesome, man. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
We will definitely have you on again. Does anybody have any closing thoughts?
Matt, when COVID's over, come to Indy, man. We'll have a great time. I fucking love this town.
I would love that. I miss it so much. Best food, best. I walk around there at night, man. It's. I love Indianapolis. So yes, we will definitely hook up.
For sure.
When COVID's done, absolutely.
Matt, any closing thoughts?
Go Colts. Go check out the 2 Point Conversation and keep supporting you guys. I mean, you guys are so good. I can't put it over enough. My niceness is too much, but you guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. Keep up the great work on the page, and yeah, keep on keeping on.
Oh yeah, Derek. Any closing thoughts?
I need the NHLPA and NHL owners to fucking figure it out.
Yes, it's very concerning. It's very, very concerning. So the mostly football podcast this week. We're in the heat of the football season. We're not going to apologize for it. We will get back to other sports again, I think, probably after the Super Bowl. I think it's probably a little bit over. We'll probably touch a little bit on our podcast. This was the 45th Sports Memery podcast. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody,
thank you guys.
Sports Memery, have a great night.